solutions to this. I'm sure we're not the only region that deals so much with ice now. Yeah, we were in a similar situation, probably not as bad as the south end of the valley, but it was bad. We got snow, then we got rain on top of that, then we got ice on top of that, that then kind of melted into a sandwich that was about 3 inches thick of ice, snow, and rain together. We fell down last March, and when we got hit with 11 inches of snow here, and almost got to the point where we had to close, and we were severely impacted our airlines and our operations. And so we spent our entire year rewriting our snow and ice plan. How we tackle this, we spent about $8 million on new equipment, which is just being delivered right now to make our runway and taxiway clearing processes easier. We've certainly always had de-icing liquid and dry chemical capabilities. We've added a lot to our land side, because if you can't get people in here, if you get employees in here, then it's no sense either. So we've added a lot of capabilities on that side, including in our parking garages. So yes, what we are noticing is our climate, our climate and our weather is changing, and the patterns of our weather are changing. And what we're seeing is warmer, but then the peaks of when we do see cold, or when we do see impacts of cold, are higher and more intense. So the storms are different in that the intensity of them are greater now. And so though we may have to prepare for fewer in a season, the ones that we do have greater impact and greater disruptive impact. So we are investing in that right now, and it's part of our overall resiliency. So we've updated our plan. When we got to the worst case scenarios this year, where we had to abandon a runway and just concentrate all of our efforts on one runway, and that's something we've never done before, but we updated our snow and ice plans, and we had to go to that this year, where we basically only could keep open one thing. So we kept open all the taxi routes, not all the exits, all the taxi routes that are necessary, one runway, and we kept our cargo open, and everything else we just let go. And even in doing that, in the 7 days that we faced snow and ice, probably 3 or 4 of them were ice, 3 or 4 were snow, or a combination. We went through 20,000 gallons of liquid de-icer and about 90 tons of dry chemical, which I think is about half of the supply that we have on hand. Wow. So yeah, it was a very significant event. Yeah, to Catherine's point, I think we might benefit from kind of region-wide looking at some of these solutions.
And that's just our operational challenges. Of course, there was a lot of damage, as far as trees and in the community and power outages and all of the aftermath that's still going on. I think there are still some people that haven't had power restored down in the South Valley. So, yeah. Anyway, just thought I'd bring that up as a potential topic for us to also take a look at in the future.
Yeah, so we actually have our own. We have our own 911 center here. We have our own call center. We have our own dispatch for maintenance and for all resources here. We set an all-time record. We had 236 calls for maintenance calls in a 24-hour period, which that's about 1 every 6 minutes throughout the course of a day. So yeah, we had the most pipes that ruptured that we've ever had as well. And so, yeah, we're just having to prepare for these types of events.
Mm-hmm. Sure, Stevens, can I ask a quick question to Steve?
Sure.
Slightly different from the weather aspect, but in terms of disruptions at the airport, how much fallout has there been from the Boeing issue to port operations? Has there been a lot of cancellations?
Airlines that have received or, who took delivery of MAX 9 specifically that were grounded for that 10-day period. There was, depending on the airline and depending on whether they put that aircraft on a route that either served Portland or served out of here, we saw anywhere from I have to go back and look, but it was basically we were seeing about 15 cancellations a day based on the unavailability of those aircraft.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are those issues ongoing, or they?
They seem to be pretty much resolved now since the FAA issued their guidance on how to recertify the aircraft and get them airborne again. I don't think there are any disruptions as of today that I'm aware of. I think there may have been, the last ones may have been a couple of days ago.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, our team kind of monitors the cancellations, the scheduling cancellations. So we were seeing about 15 a day for a period.
The return of that flight emergency, how did it disrupt? I mean, how did that go?
Interesting. Yeah, sorry, I forgot completely to even, you're saying like what happened interesting in the last month. Yes. Really great lessons learned here. And Catherine would be happy to share these with you and with Zach and others throughout here. From an airport's perspective, it was very minimal. I mean, we are very fortunate that there was no loss of life, that there was no significant injury to anybody, that the incident happened at a low enough altitude that there wasn't a severe depressurization, that the pilots returned the aircraft. I got a text message from the people on duty, well, through the manager of the people who were on duty that day, that said, they are looking at a plane with a hole in the side of it right now. I mean, like when we were trying to understand what exactly had happened, because it taxied back to the gate, and very quickly understood that it was a door or a plug in that door that had come out of the aircraft. Very limited and Catherine can certainly probably attest to this. We checked all of our facilities to make sure that nothing happened on airport, that somehow the airport didn't contribute to it, or that the remains of that incident didn't somehow land on a runway or land on airport property that was going to somehow damage the next flights or that. Very quickly, we ascertained that there was no impact to here. The impact to the airport were the cancellations and the operations in that, and then just working through helping and assist passengers who were stranded that night and the next days. The biggest thing to learn is when the NTSB and the national media comes to town, it is all hands on that. So just handling the media, and we aren't even the ones who the media are going to. They are going to the airline, they are going to the NTSB, but because we are the host, there was a huge amount of effort from our media relations team just to be able to handle that. And that you can expect that from the time the NTSB lands to the day that they pack up and leave. And then the national media kind of packs up and leaves and goes with them as well. But that was probably the most challenging part of it, is just managing all that request for information that we really didn't have a part in, but we still had a part to kind of facilitate. But the questions were all going to the airline, they were all going to the NTSB, they were all going to the aircraft manufacturer, but they all kind of show up on our property to do that. So yeah, overall, our professionalism of our team was great, and the assistance to the airline and the assistance to passengers and that. But we were very fortunate that we didn't have to. And interestingly, we had just last year had our triennial, and Catherine can, we activated our what am I trying to say? Our friends and our families support.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah, we activated a full one last year as part of our triennial exercise. We brought in all of our partner agencies. We set up as if we had a full-on event. And so we had just literally within 12 months practiced what would happen if a major disaster were to occur. And we had to set up our family support center before the NTSB and before the airlines come to town. Airports are mandated to have a support network in place that goes in place immediately following an event until the airline and the NTSB can take over and do that. And that usually takes 24 to 48 hours. So we had just practiced activating it for the first time ever last year. And thankfully, we didn't have to go through a full activation this year because there was no injury or loss of life. But yeah, it was, I will also say it was kind of traumatic to just some of the people who responded. Our staff were just like, this could have been a lot worse, just providing some resources for them as well, for our firefighters, for our operations people who just literally had to see a hole in the side of a plane. Yeah, that was kind of traumatic for some of them to understand how close this could have been to a significant disaster. And so taking care of your people was just another thing that we kind of were like providing some assistance to folks in the days that followed as well.
Steve,
Well,
did
on the
you
lighter side-
activate, did you activate your JIC, your Joint Information Center as well with all that national media coming in?
I have to double check and see. I don't think we did because it wasn't directly involved to us,
Yeah.
Catherine. It was to the airline and it was to the NTSB was most of the inquiries, but we were helping support them. But I don't think we did. I never saw any information about that.
Okay.
Well, on the lighter side of things, if you haven't seen the Saturday Night Live,
Yes.
it's awesome.
Yeah, no, that is a good one.
But yes, we were very fortunate with our partners and they were very the airline was very supportive as well. So yeah, we worked through it.
Very fortunate.
Yes.
The right seater is the daughter of one of our local airport owners.
Oh, wow. That's
Daughter of
awesome.
Bob Stark
Oh, wow.
was the right seater in that,
Mm,
bringing it back.
yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine the experience of those pilots? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, we've got a gaping hole in the plane. Can you turn it around?
They didn't even know
They just knew they had a
just knew the hole.
pressurization. Yeah.
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 Well, thanks, Steve. Appreciate hearing how that all happened. Any other board updates?
Sorry, I forgot that.
A little nudge, right? Tell us what happened.
Okay, I'm not hearing any others, so that brings us to any other business, and I see that there is a little reminder in here for us all. If we should please check our workday for required annual training. So if you haven't already done so, make sure you log into your workday account to be able to take those annual trainings.
You have until the end of the year. It's for the security training and sexual harassment training.
Okay.
And then any other topics not on the agenda that board members would like to bring up?
I'll just mention it here. I'll certainly talk about it on the tour afterwards, but because we'll probably be offline and not recording anymore. But we are, sorry about the congestion or frog in my throat here. We are on track and scheduled to open the first phase of the PDX Terminal Core on May 22nd. So if you are flying through PDX on May 21st, you'll go through the way you go today. If you come back or fly the next day, you will be using all the new facilities, all the new ticket counters, security checkpoints, concessions, and all those other features. The plan is to transition right after midnight, take down the curtain and start operating from the new facilities. So
Will you have a ribbon cutting?
no, because we are still 18 months away from finishing the entire project. We will do some small acknowledgements, but we are nowhere near doing a full-on celebration yet.
You need dry test runs. Like that.
18.
So that's a very good.
Covered that.
So the test run, there will be a series of test and evaluations of new equipment. When you are opening new facilities, Catherine knows this too, you go through an operational readiness and testing or ORAT process. some of the last features of that will be with TSA. We're obviously doing it with the airlines, we're doing it with our baggage handling system, we're doing it with all different manners of our functional systems of the facility. But one of the last big ones that we will be doing is testing the actual security equipment and that. And so there will be small tests with just some employees. And then there will be a very large test right before commissioning where we will bring in basically like 2,000 or more folks from the general public and have them go through and act as if they are full-on passengers, that we will test and stress test the capacity of it to make sure, like, this person needs this person needs a pat down, this person needs this special attention. How do you handle all those? So TSA will be doing all that training and all those commissioning processes in the weeks leading up to it as well.
So you just get 200 people or 2,000 people.
Yeah, we'll be putting out the notice for volunteers to do that.
Facial recognition? Any biomed?
I don't want to tread too far into that because Oregon and the city of Portland have some very specific guidelines and law and policy about the use of facial recognition technologies. And so I will just say at this time, no, because we are working through the processes of complying with city and state guidance and law on the use of facial recognition technology. And for those who haven't been following, there is a very large concern for a very valid reason that for portions of facial recognition technology are not very good with different communities because of the size of the database with which they pull from. And so there are a lot of misrepresentations or mischaracterizations or mismatches, thank you, for certain communities of color, for women, and for other groups who are just not well represented in this technology. And for that reason, Oregon and Portland and a lot of communities have a lot of concern about the use of it. And so they've slowed that. We understand, we're doing that, we're complying with all that as well. But we also have airlines in the industry who are looking at this as an efficiency methodology. There's also concerns about the privacy and what do you do with the data of that. But a lot of these are programs that our people have opted into. And so you have voluntarily shared your information, your facial recognition data with your airline or that. So there are privacy, there are local issues we still have to work through. But I'm assuming we'll get there at some point, but we're not there.
Because I got hit with it last month at SFO.
There are some places that do that, and we do have that. CBP uses that technology for international travel, and in those instances, the federal law preempts local and state on that, and so there are some CBP uses of facial recognition and matching tech. I shouldn't call it facial recognition, it's facial matching, because you are already in a system that you have volunteered and provided your information into, and all you are doing is looking into something that matches you with something that's already in their database. But there's still a concern about what do they do with that matched information? How long is it held? Who holds it? Who shares it? All really valid concerns to be worked through. We'll get there, I think, at some point. I think, Catherine, you probably are dealing with this at some level as well. I think we'll all get through it in our state, but we're just not there yet.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that on the return. CBT hit me with facial recognition, but on the way out, I got facial recognition. I had to stand in front of the camera, smile. That was international travel, so. Yeah.
Great, another good update. Any future agenda items that we'd like to discuss?
So for the agenda input, I gave everybody the 2024 annual schedule to be in your packet. And then I'll update that with the 3 items that we talked about today. The OEM training.
Or a master plan.
A master plan, yeah. And then which trying to do, and then OEM. But possibly in November, it looks like, but we can maybe get something sooner. Looks like we have a pretty booked agenda. But just take a look at that and see what we could, rearrange or.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I do think our agendas are getting filled up nicely with good topics, but if there are others that board members would like to hear additional information about or have a discussion on, we can certainly try and find a place for those.
And then the KPM, Kristen moved it to the board in April.
Okay. Not hearing any other items. I know we're kind of nearing the end, and I know, Steve, you've got to do a little delay tactic, I suppose. So
Well, yeah, yes, I've got some information about the project, and then we'll be able to accelerate this so that we don't have to wait around, I think, for
okay.
that, do the tour.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, I think that brings us to the end of all of the agenda items for today. Unless, Steve, did you want to do kind of a precursor to the tour at the meeting, or is it better just to get on site and do it?
It's probably better to get offline and just do that and not have to worry about all the online information at this point. Sorry,
Sure.
Catherine.
No, that's okay. Like I said, I got my little sneak peek, so I'm good.
I see it.
Okay. Well, if there is nothing else for board business today, then I think we will bring this meeting to a close. And thanks everybody for joining today. I appreciate having you all here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Enjoy the tour.
All right.
The meeting recording has ended.